I will never forget the moment I opened that email from Stanford University. There I was sitting in my tiny dorm room, and suddenly I was staring at the words, "Congratulations, you have been awarded a full merit scholarship for your remaining 2 years." My hands were shaking as I grabbed my phone to call home, expecting my parents to scream with joy. Instead, my mother's voice came through cold and sharp. "Claudia, why do you always have to make Sophia feel worse about herself?" That is when I knew my family was about to wage war against my education. Before I tell you the story, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. Hit that like button and subscribe for more real life stories. You will not believe how far my parents went to try to sabotage my education just to protect their precious golden daughter's feelings. Growing up as a twin should have meant shared celebrations, equal love, and mutual support. Instead, it meant living in the shadow of my sister Sophia, who could do no wrong in my parents' eyes. From the time we could walk, the difference in treatment was crystal clear. When we turned 16, Sophia got a massive birthday party, with over 50 guests, a professional DJ, and a brand new Honda Civic. I got a cupcake with a single candle and a card that said "Happy Birthday," with my name written in pencil underneath Sophia's printed name. The pattern continued through high school. Sophia was enrolled in piano lessons, dance classes, and tennis at the country club. When I asked to join any activity, my father Robert would sigh and say, "Money does not grow on trees, Claudia. Maybe next year." So I learned to create my own opportunities. At 15, I started working at the local coffee shop after school, saving every dollar I earned. While Sophia spent her afternoons at dance practice that our parents paid for, I was steaming milk and dealing with cranky customers to fund my own dreams. Academically, the favoritism was even more obvious. When Sophia brought home a B- in chemistry, my mother Margaret would beam and put it on the refrigerator, saying, "Look how hard our girl is working." When I came home with my report card showing straight A+, including advanced placement classes, the response was always lukewarm. "That is nice, sweetheart," followed by immediate attention shifting back to whatever Sophia needed. By senior year, I had learned not to expect support with college applications. I spent countless hours in the school library researching schools, scholarships, and application requirements. I wrote and rewrote my personal essays without any input from my parents, who were too busy helping Sophia choose which local community colleges might accept her mediocre grades. I applied to Stanford, UC Berkeley, and UCLA, knowing I would have to rely on merit aid to afford any of them. Meanwhile, Sophia's college preparation consisted mainly of shopping for dorm decorations and planning her college wardrobe, despite having no acceptance letters. She refused to take the SAT prep courses I had suggested, preferring to spend her time creating TikTok videos and hanging out at the mall. When I tried to offer help with her essays, she snapped at me. "Not everyone has to be a perfectionist like you, Claudia. Some of us have lives outside of studying." The day acceptance letters arrived was a day I will never forget. I had been checking my email obsessively, and when I saw that Stanford email in my inbox, my heart nearly stopped. Not only had I been accepted, but I had received a significant merit-based scholarship. I was so excited that I printed out the acceptance letter and ran downstairs, bursting into the kitchen where my family was eating lunch. I got into Stanford, I announced, waving the letter, and I got a scholarship. The silence that followed was deafening. My father stopped chewing and looked at my mother. Sophia's face crumpled and she immediately started crying. "This is so unfair," she sobbed. "I have not heard from any schools yet." That was a lie. I had seen the rejection letters piling up in the mail. Sophia had been rejected from every four-year university she applied to and had only been accepted to the local community college. My mother immediately went to comfort Sophia, shooting me a disapproving look. "Did you have to announce it like that?" she whispered harshly. "You know your sister is sensitive about college." I stood there holding my acceptance letter, feeling like I had somehow committed a crime by succeeding. My father cleared his throat and said, "Claudia, we need to talk about this. Stanford is very far away. Maybe you should consider staying local to support your sister during this difficult time." That dinner table conversation was the beginning of the end. Instead of celebrating my achievement, my parents spent the rest of the meal discussing how my acceptance was somehow a personal attack on Sophia. They suggested I should be humble about my success and consider turning down Stanford to attend the same community college as my twin. The idea was presented as family solidarity, but it felt like a prison sentence. I refused politely but firmly. I had worked too hard and sacrificed too much to give up my dreams now. That night, the house felt colder than usual. Sophia would not speak to me, and my parents kept having whispered conversations that stopped whenever I entered the room. The Cold War in my family had officially begun. My first semester at Stanford was like stepping into a different world. For the first time in my life, I was surrounded by people who valued achievement and intellectual curiosity. My professors were brilliant, my classmates were motivated, and I finally felt like I belonged somewhere. I threw myself into my studies, joined a research lab, and made genuine friendships with people who supported each other's success instead of resenting it. But the calls home became increasingly difficult. Every conversation with my parents revolved around how much Sophia was struggling. She had dropped out of community college after just one semester, claiming the coursework was too hard and the professors were mean. Now she was living at home, sleeping until noon, and spending her days watching Netflix and complaining about how unfair life was. "Your sister is really depressed," my mother would say during our weekly phone calls. "She feels like a failure compared to you. Maybe you could come home more often to support her." I tried reaching out to Sophia, directly calling her to offer encouragement and help. But every conversation ended with her hanging up on me or accusing me of showing off about my college experience. When I mentioned getting accepted into an honors program, she accused me of calling just to brag. When I talked about my research work, she said I was trying to make her feel stupid. The guilt began eating away at me. Was I really being selfish by pursuing my education? Was my success somehow causing my sister's failures? My parents certainly seemed to think so. When winter break arrived, I was excited to go home and share all the amazing things I had learned. I had maintained a 4.0 GPA, gotten involved in groundbreaking research, and received recognition for academic excellence. I thought maybe finally my parents would be proud of me. Instead, I walked into a house where my achievements were treated like dirty secrets. At dinner, the conversation focused entirely on finding ways to help Sophia get back on track. My parents had already researched local universities where I could transfer, bringing me brochures and applications they had picked up. "You could finish your degree here," my father suggested over dessert. "The state university has a decent program, and you would be close to family. Sophia needs her sister right now." When I explained that transferring would mean giving up my research position, my scholarship, and the incredible opportunities I had at Stanford, my mother sighed dramatically. "Money is not everything, Claudia," she said. "Family should come first. You are becoming so focused on your career that you are forgetting what really matters." The breaking point came during a family dinner when I mentioned being offered a paid research assistant position for the following semester. Instead of congratulations, I was met with disapproving looks and lectures about priorities. That was when Sophia exploded. "You think you are better than everyone," she screamed, throwing her napkin down. "You are so selfish. All you care about is yourself and your stupid achievements. You do not care that I am miserable?" I tried to explain that her misery was not my fault, that my success did not take anything away from her, but she was not listening. She stormed out of the dining room, sobbing dramatically, and my parents followed her, leaving me sitting alone at the table. I cut my winter break short, returning to Stanford 2 days early. The relief I felt getting back to campus told me everything I needed to know about where I truly belonged. My sophomore year started with even better news. Not only was I excelling in all my classes, but I had been offered a prestigious research position with a generous stipend. It was a competitive program that would look incredible on graduate school applications and provide valuable experience in my field. When I called home to share this exciting development, the response was immediate and harsh. "Claudia, you need to stop this," my father said, his voice stern and disapproving. "You are becoming obsessed with success. What about your family? What about Sophia?" I explained that this was an incredible opportunity that could shape my entire career, but he cut me off. "Money is not everything," he repeated, his favorite phrase. "Your sister is struggling, and instead of helping her, you just keep moving further and further away from us." That was when I learned that Sophia had been busy during my absence. She had been calling extended family members, telling them that I was abandoning the family and becoming too good for them. Suddenly, I was receiving phone calls from aunts, uncles, and grandparents, all lecturing me about family loyalty and the importance of staying humble. My Aunt Linda called me crying, saying that Sophia had told her I refused to help with family financial problems because I was selfish and money obsessed. My grandmother wrote me a long letter about how families should stick together and how my education was making me forget my roots. The worst part was that none of it was true. I had never refused to help my family, and I had never acted superior to anyone. But Sophia had painted a picture of me as a cold, heartless person who had abandoned her family for personal gain. And somehow everyone believed her. I started questioning everything. Was I really being selfish? Was my pursuit of education somehow wrong? The doubt and guilt were consuming me, affecting my grades and my mental health. I found myself apologizing for my achievements and downplaying my successes, trying to make everyone else feel better about my life. That was exactly what my family wanted. They did not want me to fail exactly, but they wanted me to succeed just enough to make them proud while staying small enough not to make Sophia feel bad. It was an impossible balance, and I was exhausted from trying to maintain it. Everything came to a head at the end of my sophomore year when I received the most incredible news of my academic career. I had been awarded a full scholarship for my remaining 2 years at Stanford, covering not just tuition, but also housing and living expenses. It was recognition of my academic excellence and research contributions, and it meant I could focus entirely on my studies, without financial worry. I called home immediately, still naive enough to think my parents would finally be happy for me. Instead, my mother answered the phone with panic in her voice. "Claudia, this has gone too far," she said. "You are moving further and further away from your family, and it is destroying Sophia. She barely gets out of bed anymore because she feels like such a failure compared to you." When I tried to explain that this scholarship was the result of years of hard work and that I deserved to be proud of it, my mother cut me off. "Pride goes before a fall, young lady. You are becoming arrogant, and it is not attractive." What happened next still makes my blood boil. 3 days later, I received a call from Stanford's financial aid office asking me to confirm that I wanted to decline my scholarship. I was confused and told them I had never declined anything. That was when I learned that someone claiming to be me had called the office and attempted to refuse the award. I immediately knew who it was. When I called my mother to confront her, she did not even deny it. "I was trying to help you make the right choice," she said calmly. "That scholarship is just tying you more tightly to a school that is taking you away from your family. I thought if it was not an option, you would come to your senses." I was speechless. My own mother had tried to sabotage my education, my future, my dreams, and she felt completely justified in doing so. But that was just the beginning. A month later, I received an email from the registrar's office asking about a withdrawal form that had been submitted in my name. Someone had forged my signature on paperwork attempting to withdraw me from Stanford entirely. This time, it was my father who had committed the fraud. When campus security investigated, they found that Robert had somehow obtained a copy of my signature and had submitted official paperwork trying to force me out of school. I had to go to the dean's office with my identification to prove that I had not submitted any withdrawal requests. Dean Harrison was sympathetic, but also concerned about the family situation that was creating these problems. When I called my father to confront him about the forged documents, he was not apologetic. "I am trying to save this family," he said angrily. "Your sister has been talking about hurting herself because she feels so worthless compared to you. Do you want Sophia's blood on your hands? Is your education worth your sister's life?" That manipulation tactic hit me like a physical blow. Was I really responsible for Sophia's mental health? Was my success actually causing her pain? The guilt was overwhelming, and for the first time, I seriously considered giving up everything I had worked for. The final straw came during summer break, when my parents organized what they called a family intervention. They invited aunts, uncles, grandparents, and family friends to a barbecue at our house. What I thought was a family gathering turned out to be an orchestrated attack on my life choices. One by one, family members approached me with prepared speeches about how a good daughter puts family first and how my education was causing a mental health crisis for my sister. My Uncle Frank told me that college was making me too big for my britches. My grandmother cried and said I was breaking the family apart. The climax came when my parents presented me with an ultimatum in front of everyone. "You need to choose," my mother announced loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Your education or your family, you cannot have both." Sophia, who had been quiet throughout the intervention, suddenly became hysterical. She threw herself on the ground, sobbing and screaming that she wanted to die because she was such a failure. She claimed that seeing my success every day was torture and that she could not live with the constant reminder of her own inadequacy. "If you do not quit Stanford," she wailed dramatically, "I am going to kill myself. I cannot take it anymore." That was the moment I realized what was really happening. This was not about my education or Sophia's mental health. This was about control manipulation and the desperate need to keep everyone at the same level, so no one had to face their own shortcomings. Sitting in my dorm room that night, I called Professor Williams, my research advisor, and told him everything. His response changed my life. "Claudia," he said gently, "what you are describing is not love. It is emotional blackmail. A family that truly loves you would celebrate your success, not try to destroy it." He recommended I speak with the campus counseling center, where I learned about toxic family dynamics and manipulation tactics. For the first time, I had words for what I was experiencing. My family was not trying to protect Sophia or preserve family unity. They were trying to tear me down because my success made them uncomfortable with their own choices and failures. I made a decision that night that changed everything. I would not sacrifice my future for anyone's insecurity, not even my family's. The next morning, I called my parents one final time. "I have listened to everything you have said," I told them calmly. "I understand that you believe you are protecting Sophia, but what you are really doing is enabling her to avoid taking responsibility for her own life. My success is not the cause of her problems, and destroying my future will not solve hers." My mother immediately started crying and guilt-tripping, but I continued. "I will not quit Stanford. I will not give up my scholarship. I will not apologize for working hard and achieving my goals. And if you cannot support me, then we have nothing more to discuss." My father's voice was cold when he responded, "If you make this choice, do not expect us to be there for you when your fancy education fails to make you happy." "I understand," I said, "and I accept that consequence." I hung up the phone and immediately blocked my family's numbers and social media accounts. It was the hardest thing I had ever done, but it was also the most liberating. For the next 6 months, I had no contact with my family. I focused entirely on my education, my research, and my mental health. I excelled in every class, made incredible progress on my research project, and slowly healed from years of emotional manipulation. My hard work paid off in ways I had never imagined. I graduated summa cum laude with multiple job offers from top technology companies. I chose a position with a starting salary that was more than my parents made combined, along with incredible benefits and opportunities for advancement. The irony was not lost on me when 6 months after graduation, I received a phone call from my mother. "Claudia," she said, her voice small and apologetic, "we have been talking and we realize we made some mistakes. Sophia has been getting therapy and she understands now that her problems were not your fault." It turned out that after months of counseling, Sophia had been diagnosed with depression and anxiety disorders that had nothing to do with my success. She had re-enrolled in community college and was actually doing well when she was not focused on comparing herself to me. "We are proud of you," my mother continued. "We always were. We just did not know how to handle the situation with Sophia." I appreciated the apology, but I was not ready to forgive or forget. I agreed to limited contact with strict boundaries. I would not discuss my career achievements in detail. They would not guilt-trip me about family obligations, and any manipulation tactics would result in immediate cessation of contact. Slowly, very slowly, we began to rebuild some kind of relationship. Sophia eventually apologized directly, admitting that she had been jealous and had encouraged our parents' behavior because it felt good to have them choose her side for once. Today, 3 years later, I have a successful career, a healthy sense of self-worth, and a family relationship that, while not perfect, is no longer toxic. Sophia finished her associate degree and is pursuing a career in graphic design that makes her genuinely happy. Our parents have learned to celebrate both of our achievements without comparing us to each other. The most important lesson I learned from this experience is that your success is not something you need to apologize for. Families should lift each other up, not tear each other down to maintain artificial equality. Real love means wanting the best for someone even if their best surpasses your own achievements. If someone in your life is trying to convince you to make yourself smaller so they can feel bigger, that is not love, that is manipulation. You have the right to pursue your dreams, achieve your goals, and be proud of your accomplishments without apology. Success is not a finite resource. My achievements did not take opportunities away from my sister. Her struggles were not caused by my victories. It took me years to understand that truth, but once I did, everything changed. I learned that loving someone does not mean sacrificing your dreams for their insecurities. True family support means celebrating each other's successes and helping each other grow, not keeping everyone at the same level to avoid discomfort. What would you have done in my situation? Have you ever had to choose between your dreams and your family's expectations? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and do not forget to hit that like button if this story resonated with you. Subscribe for more real life stories about overcoming family drama and following your dreams. Share this video with anyone who might need to hear that their success matters and they do not need permission to achieve great things. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember that your dreams are valid, your hard work matters, and you deserve to succeed without apology. Keep pushing forward and never let anyone convince you to make yourself smaller to accommodate their insecurities.